Well, good morning to you. We are right at the end of 2023. We were scrolling through our YouTube page and got to thinking, recapping over the past year. You know, we started homesteading before we started YouTube. And the only reason why we started doing YouTube was just to document everything. We felt like a lot of what we were doing is what people were also doing, and we wanted to join in and show our experiences, but also to kind of blog our journey on video so that we can go back and continue to learn from our mistakes. So this is the good, the bad, and the lessons learned in 2023. So let's recap this year. So we don't have a fancy drone to fly in the air, so I'll give you the overhead view from our rooftop. That is Grandfather Mountain right there, and somewhere in that direction is Boone. But it started with moving our garden. So our garden used to be located in that section right there behind the tree limbs, and it's a great spot, but what we ran into is just the accessibility to get to it. Then the next spot was where our chickens used to have their run. That's where we ended up moving the chickens, building the mobile chicken tank, and then moving the garden over there, and it was already fenced in. The problem with that area was it was not enough sun, so we had to clear out some trees, and you can still see some of the logs down there where we were working on that. So that began our journey into silvopasturing. We had the entire hillside cleared of probably about 10 trees to let in more light. We began doing that process over here. This is actually where we moved the chicken coop. But we silvopastured a little bit over here. We've got some grass growing finally, but that's a pretty steep hillside. So this is a section we started clearing last winter, and I think you can see the grass growing. So our silvopasturing over here is starting to work. So the lesson learned about the garden move is access has to be a lot easier. This is the main reason why we have our buddy Alan coming over to help move the mulch with his tractor. Doing this about 20 times and you'll see. I don't think I volunteered for the right job. Sunlight has to be good, so we had to clear some trees. So we're looking to move it for a third time, which is where our pigs were before they were processed, and now where our egg layers are. So they're down there tilling that up. So let's go check them out. Another thing we added this year was 2 water catchment systems. This has been awesome, free water. It watered our pigs, our gardens, our chickens, everything we needed. And we have 2 of those set up on the property. So here's where our chickens are now. This is actually the old pig pen, and once we sent them to be processed. So now the chickens are dust bathing right now, but they're also tilling up, mixing in all the pig poop and the hay and everything else we set down, because this is the future location of our garden. The trees are a lot thinner. The canopy should be cleared out a little bit. We've cleared some more trees. So we've got them in their chickshaw 4.6, and they're down there resting now, but this is going to be the future garden spot. So a little bit cluttered, moving things around. This is the post-pig pre-garden, and the chickens are helping us out now with that. This is the chickshaw 4.6. Again, we had to build this, and this was more or less out of necessity so that we could actually move the chickens around. They helped clear the hillside, which I've shown that before. They do a fantastic job with that. But again, Chickshaw 4.6, this took a little trial and error. We've had a couple of predator issues, so with the electric fencing, we actually updated it. We were using the solar power one, and now we've got a 1 joule electrifier that seems to be doing good, and something's catching over here because it's popping. At least we know it's working. Since we're down here with the chickens and they're doing all the work tilling up where the pigs used to be, let's talk about pigs. That was brand new for us, and I just recently processed them, me and my wife, at Highlands Family Butchery in downtown Valdez. And let me tell you, that was an experience. I would highly recommend trying it. We did ours in a pen where we used mulch and bedding and things like that, kind of a deep bedding method.
We're at Rural King. Don't ask us how we did this.
They probably shouldn't touch it because it's chopping on my tail. Come on. Right now, at this stage, learned a lot, electrifying fence, how to take care of pigs. But again, we were rookies in that. That was a really cool experience. I've shared that in a video. You could check that out. We were torn as a family. It was tough, but it was also a great experience. The next step we took in 2023 was meat birds. That was an adventure in itself. Not only did we have to build everything, and I think that's part of the thing about 2023 is it was a lot of cost going into it because we had to build everything. We didn't have chicken netting. We didn't have a brooder. We did a really simple, easy DIY brooder that we used when the baby chicks came in, but we had to buy the warmers, the feeders, everything. So it's pretty costly. Roosties reached out to us, allowed us to do a product review on a couple of their feeders and waterers, and that was really awesome. They later on sent us nesting pads that we got to test out as well. So that was kind of cool, and it helped to kind of give you a little bit of a boost that you're doing things right because people are noticing. And if you remember, when we set up our chicken tractors, it was right here.
And there they are. So we're gonna stagger them a little bit just to keep a little bit of spacing in the yard.
The grass is growing back in. The problem is we ran out of space. This was the only grass that was semi-flat on our property. And it was not very much. We actually rotated them over the grass twice, which I don't really recommend. The grass started growing back in because it was in the mid of the summer. But I don't recommend that just because it took a toll on our grass. The chickens were fine. We had no issues with them. That's why we've moved the garden so much. So this year, all this space down here that was garden is now going to be where we run the chicken tractors. And you can see the chicken tractors are already down there. That's the flattest land we got. When we first bought the property in 2020, we had it forestry mulched. A lot of cool stuff. We didn't get on video because, again, we started the farmstead, homestead life before we started YouTube. So a lot of this stuff you're catching on the back end, but that was all overgrown brush, small trees, and we cleared it out. And it has been a process from garden to compost to egg layers to now it's going to be the flat ground that we run our chicken tractors on. As we were processing the chickens, the meat birds this year, one lesson we learned was we didn't have enough freezer space. So we actually had to go out and buy an additional freezer. What was happening is we were putting them in the freezer and packing them in so tight they weren't freezing in time. They were still cold, but one lesson we learned was you need more room to let them initially freeze. So in 2023, another expense was we added a third freezer. Now, This has grown. One thing we did is we make sure we labeled each top, but also some pictures. Thought that was kind of cool. So this is our chicken freezer, mostly, but you can see there's other stuff on there too. But there's our whole chickens down there in the bottom, spread around that one. This one is primarily our cow, but there's some pork chops mixed in as well, just because we ran out of room from just processing our pig. And then that was the initial freezer we started with, and it has grown. So now that's primarily our pig freezer, our beef and other things in that freezer, and this is mainly our chicken. One of the other lessons learned was the chicken tank. This used to be the egg layers chicken coop. We called it their Camp Chicky Nuggets. We moved it to kind of move them around, but then we needed to make it mobile. So the chicken tank was born. It was a great idea, worked fantastic as far as protecting the chickens, but it's just not mobile enough. This thing is a beast to move around, and this was one of our initial videos for when we started YouTube for 2 years. Minor details. I figured I'd make a quick video since our first video launched a couple days ago. We had a whopping 4 views, so I'm feeling pretty confident about myself, so I thought I'd make another one. This is our chicken coop. We took an old truck camper shell. This was my wife's idea. She did a phenomenal job. I mean, this thing is a beast, and it's gotten a few views on the idea, the concept of a chicken coop, but as far as making it mobile with heels, this was one of the lessons that we learned this year. And that's probably the frustrating part about trial and error and learning these things. It took a lot of time, money, and effort to build this. For it not to work was a little bit disappointing, but we've got a couple of ideas to use it, possibly in a like mobile chicken brooder, instead of using the one that we just use in our garage, possibly putting this on some legs and wheels and be able to roll it in and out to let the baby chicks get some sunlight. So that is a possibility that you might see in 2024. We just got to work out the details. One other fun thing we did was we opened up a Bonfire Store to sell apparel, like what I'm wearing. We come up with some cool ideas and designs. Check that out. Just head on over to bonfire.com, search Flat Gap Farm, and you can check out all the merchandise we have for sale. Help support our family. Another thing about 2023 is we built a lot of stuff. We've got our wood piles back here that we've got on both sides of our carport. My wife actually redid our wood chipper. We got that free from her grandfather, but she basically had to rebuild the carburetor, replace all that, and she did a great job with that using YouTube with fixing our chipper, starring Lauren. So hopefully things that we're putting out, people are finding useful when we build things. Like our DIY tote is kind of like a floating tote shelving system. We did that in a garage, and we redid that in our basement, which has been tremendous down there for helping store things and get things organized. We've had to build everything from pig pens to chicken tractors, and learning along the way. So it has been a very eventful year, a learning year. 2023 was one of those where we just jumped in, did a lot of things that we had never done before, processing chickens. We literally just learned on the fly. We watched a ton of videos, but it's one of those things where you can watch videos all day, but you got to get out and do it. Now, I think that's the biggest thing we learned from 2023 is just do it. One other big event that happened this year was my wife donated a kidney. We shared her story of donating a kidney to a perfect stranger who now is part of our family. His parents came over and celebrated Christmas with us. So in closing, the biggest thing we learned, you know, this is the good, the bad, and the lessons learned in between. The good was we put a lot of meat in our freezer. We raised clean, healthy chickens and pigs, processing those for the first time. Those were huge lessons learned in our next step in what we want to do. The other thing was we made a lot of mistakes. We moved the garden. It'll be the third time. We've had to clear a lot of trees. We've lost some animals along the way. And I think that's just part of the process. You know, you can't always just sit back and watch other people do it. You may not have the resources like we didn't. We had to build everything. Part of moving the garden when we tore everything that was down there was we recycled those. So those raised garden beds actually turn into our chicken tractors down there. Everything else that we built with the chickshaw. So we recycled a lot of mistakes instead of throwing it out and burning it. So you're gonna make mistakes. We made a lot, but the foundation is set. So we spent the entire year building all these things. Now this year when we do broiler chickens, meat chickens, we've got everything in place. And now we can revamp it, fix some of the things we did like we're doing in the background with the ground and the grass. But it's an evolving process. One of the other lessons we learned was just growing YouTube. Watching some of the videos, it's kind of fun. It's a release. You know, we both have full-time jobs. We've got families. We got life happening, kids in sports, me coaching. There's a lot going on. YouTube is just something on the side to where we could document our process, hopefully encourage and inspire others to do it. But it also helps us to look back and see the memories and the things that we've done and the lessons we've learned along the way and how we've grown as a family, how we've grown as a farmstead, how we've grown in just starting with egg layers, then evolving into broiler chickens and then pigs. And it's the evolution of how we're growing has been pretty cool to watch in 2023.
It was neat to process our own meat, like with the meat birds and the pigs. That was kind of cool to raise them basically start to finish. And getting the electric fence done for the pigs, I feel like that was a win. And that was a huge, like we were scared to do that at first, but then it turned out pretty easy. And I feel like we mastered that. And a low would be just finding a place for our garden to really thrive. That's kind of been hard to get up and going. In 2024, I'm looking forward to making our greenhouse, whether that's a high tonal or hoop house, whatever we decide, but getting a greenhouse going. And also, as much as we love building things, it'll be nice for, especially for the chickens, that we won't have a lot of infrastructure to start. We already did that last year and the year before. So as far as the brooder and the lighting and the chicken tractors, it's all done. We've already made it.
So 2024, well, we hope to be doing a lot less like foundational building and a lot more growing. The garden has been a bit of a challenge for the last couple years, but this year primarily because moving it twice. So this will be the third time that we're going to move it within a year, and hopefully this year that's a lot better. Broiler chickens out here on the grass, and you can see we're still clearing it out, but they should have a lot more room to roam, and we're not going to tear up the ground as much. But we thank you guys for joining us through this journey. I know a lot of times it's me on the screen, try to get my wife and kids involved as much as possible. But we really appreciate you guys for tuning in, liking, subscribing, commenting. We try to keep it positive and hopefully encouraging, learn from our mistakes, learn from our successes, whether that's animals, building projects, or just our family journey along the way and some of our struggles and our triumphs. So hopefully it's been a good year for you guys. We look forward to 2024 and what it's going to bring not only to our family but to yours. And hopefully you can continue to tune in and we can encourage you, inspire you, and motivate you, and show you what not to do, but also hopefully show you what you can do. So I encourage you to just get involved this year in 2024. If you've been thinking about homesteading, starting a small farm, just get started. Start with something simple like chickens. Get your feet wet, get some success and some momentum, and then evolve from there. But we thank you guys again for tuning in. We hope to continue to put out some videos in 2024, and we'll see you on the next video. That's right. You tell them.